everybody. Welcome to our WIC cooking demonstration today. My name is Claire. I'm one of the WIC nutritionists here at the Austin Public Health WIC site. And so today we're going to be making a really delicious fall soup called Chipotle black bean chili. And the really nice thing about this is it's all in one pot, so it's really easy in terms of doing dishes. It's just in one pot, and then it's really easy to store as well. It makes great leftovers, and we'll talk about that at the end. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching the recording, thank you for coming to our YouTube channel. We appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and get started. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the heat for my big stock pot that I have here. You can use any big pot that you have, and that is what we're going to cook everything into, which is really nice. And so I have 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and that will just be heating up in the pot over here. And then you can see everything in the above angle. If you have any questions today about anything that we're going over, about the recipe or about nutrition or about WIC, feel free to leave us a comment below or call us or email us, and we'll make sure to get these questions answered for you as soon as possible. So we have the oil heating up. I went ahead and already chopped up the onion beforehand just to make things easier. So if you have some pre-chopped onion, that makes it nice and easy, or you can go ahead and just chop whatever kind of onion you have. We're using a white onion today, but you can use yellow or red, whatever you have on hand works great. And so we'll add that to the pot as soon as the oil is hot. And now we're going to chop up our little red bell pepper. So I'll show you how I like to chop these. I first just like to chop off the top of it, and then go ahead and scoop out the inside part nice and quickly with a knife, do the knife first, and then I'm just going to throw it away in the garbage that I have over here. So now we have the pepper without any of the seeds on the inside. And this part, all you have to do is pop the stem right off, and that's in the trash too. So now we're left with just these two parts. So we'll go ahead and cut this in half. And then I personally like to cut it in strips before dicing it. And just make sure you don't have any seeds in there, just so that it doesn't have any bitter taste or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this in strips. And I'm making sure to use my knife. I'm grabbing it with my thumb here and my pointer finger here. And that gives me the most control over the knife, just so that I don't slip or anything like that. And then that makes sure that your hand doesn't get as sore when you're chopping. So, and then I'm also making sure to not have my fingertips near what I'm chopping. So I'm just going to make sure that my knife goes there, and that makes sure that I don't accidentally make or anything like that. So these bell peppers are so fragrant and delicious. They have lots of great vitamins for us too. They have some vitamin C, they have fiber, they have water. They're just a really great food to add a lot of flavor to your dishes and a lot of nutrition. So now that I have those strips cut up, I'm going to go ahead and line them all up and then just cut down like this. Now I have little cubes, and it doesn't need to be perfect. This isn't the Food Network. It's just our home cookie, and that way people will know it's homemade. It doesn't have to be cut perfectly like they do in the factory. All right, so got those diced up. Now I'm going to go ahead and dice up this other half that I have here. And so the vitamin C from these red bell peppers is going to make it easier for our bodies to absorb the iron that's in the black beans that's also in the soup. So what's really good about our body is we're able to better absorb nutrients when we're eating with other things. So for this recipe, we're having vitamin C and iron with the. I wasn't paying attention, and the oil is a little hot, so I'm going to turn it down. I think it's still fine though. It hasn't burned yet. So I'm going to go ahead and add the onion. That's nice and going. Sorry, y'all. Got busy chatting with y'all. I wasn't paying attention. But then as soon as I chop up the red pepper, I'll throw that in there too. And we'll just give this a nice stir. And then all the pepper is nice and diced up, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to the pot as well. Right. So the peppers and onions and spices are all going to cook for a little bit just to get nice and soft and fragrant and make your house smell really good. So right here I have 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that in. And then I have a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. So the smokiness will be really nice in this soup. It'll be really tasty, really nice and warming for any sort of fall recipe that you're making. It just adds a nice depth of flavor. And then I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt. Go ahead and stir this up. And now the spices will mix with the oil and the veggies, and it'll make everything smell really, really good. And this is what really gives you a nice, flavorful dish whenever you're cooking. Spices with the oil and your initial veggies. This will make everything taste really, really good. I'm just going to let that cook for a little bit. And then after they get a little bit softer, then I can start adding other things in. And those other things are going to be garlic, chipotle peppers in adobo, and then just some of the adobo sauce from the can. Okay. So for garlic, what I like to do is I have a knife like this, and I go ahead and hit it on the cutting board, and now it's super easy to peel. And see, this was actually a bunch of cloves. So I'll go ahead and peel this, and then I can chop it all up, make it nice and easy for me. And then this garlic will just add some nice fresh flavor, but if you don't have any fresh garlic, of course you could use some garlic powder in your recipe. The nice thing about this is it's very customizable to whatever spices, vegetables, and beans that you have on hand. So if your family likes pinto beans better than black beans, feel free to use that. And then if you have any sort of leftover vegetables in your fridge from a different recipe that you made, say you have like half of a squash or half of a tomato that you also want to throw in, this is a great recipe to do that for. So we also have these veggies that we're going to add in as well, just to add some extra flavor and variety to our soup. So these go in. Our onions are looking good. It smells really good in here. They're still not quite as soft as I would like, so I'm going to let them cook a little bit longer. And then I bet as soon as I'm done with the garlic, it'll be ready. And go ahead and make sure that all of the skin is off of the garlic, just so we don't get anything in our food that we don't want. And the recipe calls for 3 large garlic cloves. I have 4 small ones right here, so I think I'm going to get 1 more small one. Okay. I'll just chop those up. And the reason we added the garlic after the onions and the peppers is because the garlic is much smaller. And so if we add that at the same time as the onions and peppers, it might burn. So we just like to add it a little bit later so that it doesn't burn. And we still get to taste the delicious garlic. Okay. I'm just going to make sure this is all nice and chopped up. And this is what I like to do when I'm chopping garlic, is I will kind of keep the point of the knife here and then swivel it, and then I'm chopping this way, and that way you can chop all of the different pieces that are on your cutting board. And then you can scrape the sides and do it again, so that they're all about the same size, so that they cook evenly. So I'm doing that. And there we go. Well, they're all nice and chopped up. And we can add that to our pot. So we've cooked the onions and the peppers down. The recipe calls for about 4 to 5 minutes. I think I took a little bit longer than that, but that's okay. And then we're going to add the garlic until we can smell it. That's what it says when, or that's what you say, until fragrant, until you can smell it in your house. If you ever see a recipe that says that, that's what that means. Go ahead and stir that in, get that cooking for a little bit. And now that we have the vegetables cooking, we'll be able to add the liquids that are a part of this soup. So what we have today is we have a half a cup of vegetable broth. You could also use just a half a cup of water, having that at the end. And then we're also going to be adding a can of diced fire roasted tomatoes. If you don't like the fire roasted, you can also just do normal diced tomatoes. So I have that ready to dump right in. And then I'm going to chop up our extra veggies that we had as leftovers. This is the point where we could just throw these in. They're softer than the peppers and the onions, so we can throw these in a little bit later. Still cook down great. I'm just chopping up this tomato. Just trying to do about the same size that I did of the bell pepper. And I'll do the same for the squash. If you had any carrots, or if you had mushrooms, or any vegetable that your family likes to eat, feel free to add it at this stage, especially if you have anything that's maybe about to go bad. This is a great way to use up that extra food that you have in the fridge. I'm going to go ahead and add the vegetable broth. This is a half a cup of vegetable broth. And then I have a tomato, and you pour that in. You don't have to rinse it or anything. Clean it. It's just the whole can goes right in. And then we have our 2 tablespoons of the adobo sauce, just from the can of the chili chipotle peppers. This is the can that we're using today. Feel free to use whatever can you use. Or if you don't have any canned chipotle peppers, you could also use just dried chipotle seasoning, or chili powder, or jalapeno, or whatever your family likes in terms of spice. I like things pretty spicy, so we're going to do 2 chipotle peppers that we just diced beforehand. And then I'm going to add in these veggies. This would also be really good with like roasted sweet potatoes, or if when you're serving the soup you want it to be a full meal, you could serve it over brown rice or full wheat pasta. That would be really good. My family, for some reason, always had chili with pasta growing up, and I learned that that's like something from Ohio. So if you think that's weird, just because I grew up in Ohio. So, it's, I think it's really good, and it just makes it more like a whole meal. Just, um, beans, and then we'll bring this up to oil. So I'm just going to turn up the heat a little bit, and then as soon as that gets, I can go ahead and um, turn down the heat, simmer for a while. But we actually already had a batch going beforehand, so I'm going to be able to taste that with y'all, and I'll show you how I like to top my chili. And before I grab the hot pot, I'm gonna get some elements. And this is the batch that we made just right before we started filming, just so that we would have something to try in front of y'all. So this has just been simmering for about 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. And if you want to keep it cooking for longer, just makes the flavors develop a lot nicer. And so this is so good. It smells nice and smoky and delicious. I think this would be really good with some brown rice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chop some fresh cilantro and avocado and lime juice to go on top of it. Really delicious. So the nice thing about our avocado is this is going to give us some healthy fats and this keep us fuller longer. There's also lots of great vitamins and minerals in avocados. And so this one's pretty good. It's nice and green on the inside. And then what I like to do to get the pit out is I just take the sharp edge of my knife and hit it into the pit. Make sure it's nice and in there. And then you just rotate and the pit comes right out. And now I can just throw the pit in the garbage. Yeah. So I'm also going to get some limes ready. So what I like to do with my limes is I like to roll them a little bit beforehand and make sure that they're nice and juicy whenever you squeeze them. Cut this. Get myself a nice little wedge of lime to squeeze over the top. I like it because it adds a bright, fresh flavor. You don't have to do any of this though. Some other toppings that would be really good would be some shredded cheese. If you have any cream, you could put that on top instead of sour cream, just to add a little bit of creaminess. You could really do a lot of different things with this, or if you wanted any tortilla strips. Okay, and now my pot is getting nice and bubbly, it's boiling. What we can do now is turn this one down. I'm turn it to, and then this one will cook for 20 to 25 minutes. And we'll have this later. So this one is all I need to do is cook. We're gonna make sure that it's cooking uncovered, just so that it gets nice and thick. So this will just sit here, and now you can go ahead and hang out with your kiddo or get anything else ready for dinner that you want on the side. And then I'm going to do for this one and serve myself a little bit so I can taste it. Looks like I'm going to do a little bit of avocado on top. And this is a really great meal. It has so many different vitamins and nutrients that are good for us. So like I was saying earlier, it has protein in the beans, and then the beans also iron, and it's nice and easily absorbed because of all of the vitamin C from tomatoes, peppers. So that makes it easy for our body to absorb all of the awesome in the soup. So I got the avocado on there, maybe some nice healthy fats, and then the lime juice is going to add a little bit of vitamin C as well, and just a nice bright fresh flavor. Go ahead and put that there. I like cilantro. Feel free to make this. Okay. My mom and my brother think that it tastes like soap, so I understand if you don't like it. Okay, try this. Mmm, that's really good. It's so delicious and comforting, smoky, not too spicy at all. So if you wanted to add more peppers, you definitely can. Um, and I really just hope you guys enjoy this. You can leave the leftovers in your fridge for 3 to 4 days, or you can actually freeze it in the freezer for up to a month. And one of my coworkers, she had the great idea of using muffin tins. So if you want to, you can put the soup in a muffin tin and freeze it that way, so that there's little individual portions that you can fill out throughout the month. This is a great recipe to make ahead of time, and it's really a nice, comforting soup, especially if your kiddos are sick or anything like that. It'll be like a nice hug in a bowl. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be live in Spanish at 2 p.m. So we'll have that video up later, and thank you so much, and we'll see y'all later. Thank you.